Ay, magandang hapon no, mga kamping, mga kabunyog. Salamat to sa nanood kahapon. Vlog ko, maganda ho kasi yun, no. Marami hong 17,000 views yata o tungkol ho dito sa cancellation ng COC ni ano. Ito, meron naman ho to part 2. Kay Carmina Constantino ulit. Ang guest naman niya ho, si Tudorte. 2 hours pa lang ho ito. Magbigay ho ulit tayo ng reaction dito.
And will be speaking now to the legal counsel of the petitioners calling for the cancellation of the COC.
Urging people to just accept Marcos presidency amid cancellation case.
Of leading presidential bet Ferdinand Marcos Jr., former Supreme Court spokesperson.
A disservice to public.
And Theodore Te, Attorney Ted, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Carmina. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
All right, so before we talk about the petition to cancel the COC, let's first tackle the petition to for a TRO to be issued against the canvassing. At least one election lawyer that I've spoken to, Attorney Emil Marañon III, says the Supreme Court can suspend the proclamation but cannot suspend the canvassing. Why is it important for you to include, why was it important for you to include this in your petition?
Well, Carmina, it is important because, again, the Congress has a duty under the Constitution to conduct a canvass, and if the canvass is concluded, to proclaim the winning candidate for president and vice president. So that's really part of the process. In our mind, it is important for the court to get involved because, well, it is the last resort. No? We have already gone through the COMELEC second division, COMELEC and back, and under the rules, we are allowed a final resort to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, we are now at a situation where the elections were conducted, votes were cast, yet we still believe that the court can look into the issue of the cancellation of the COC. But before that can happen, we believe that the Congress may be required to stop first, considering the votes of the respondent. So that's why we included it.
Yeah, because there are two factors here. One is that you are seeking that the COC be canceled, and that you're also asking the court to issue a TRO on canvassing. Can one exist without the other?
Well, the TRO is an interim remedy. It is what we call in law, a temporary remedy, just to make sure that the primary relief that we are asking for is not rendered moot. So that is why we asked for it. So if the court, in its opinion, can consider the case on the merits without the TRO, then so be it. But as a litigant, what we are concerned with is that the court may decide that the primary relief we are asking for may be rendered moot unless, for example, Congress is restrained. So that is why we asked for the TRO. Hopefully, the Supreme Court agrees with us. If the Supreme Court does not agree with us, then we believe the court can still consider and should still consider the petition itself.
Attorney Te, while some have called to respect the 31 million vote mandate of former Senator Bongbong Marcos, we also heard from the camp of the former...
Paulit-ulit po yung sinasabing i-respect na lang yung 31 million votes ni Bongbong Marcos. Paano naman ho yung ibang mga Pilipino? Hindi lang naman ho tayo 31 million, di ba? 100 million tayo ata mahigit At saka ho yung 31 million votes na yan, hindi naman ho malinis Dahil marami nga hong vote buying. At saka kung ano-anong lumalabas na reklamo kung bakit nakakuha yung 31 million votes na yan. May mga lumabas pa nga ho na yung boto ni VP Leni Robredo kalat na ho yan 24 million biglang naging 13 million na lang sa isang pitik na ganun naano pa ho yan, marami pa hong investigasyon na ginagawa kung paano nga ho nagkaroon ng 31 million votes. Tuloy natin. Remember, yung 31 million nga, hindi nga ho, hindi nga ho, kung kagaya nung kay BP Lenny, walang ginastos, kaya meron siyang boto. Eh, yun nga, ayon doon sa nakita namin na nakakalat na ho yan eh. Nakapunta yung boto, 23 million eh, 22 million, naging 14 eh, isang pitik lang na ganun eh.
Senator himself, the words that were used were respect the will of the people. While they're saying that, you have chosen to pursue this petition before the Supreme Court. Why is that important?
Yun ang respect the will of the people na sinasabi. No? October pa ho ito pinail. Dapat nga ho sana to, bago ho dumating ang eleksyon, nagkaroon na ho ng desisyon ang COMELEC at ayaw mo ni COMELEC at para may penalty na sa Korte Suprema. Kung pwede o hindi makatakbo ito. Kasi nga, convicted. Pinatakbo eh. Oh, pinatakbo na COMELEC eh. Anong kasalanan ng dyan? Bakit mo ngayon sasabihin na respect the will of the people? Mabuti nga kung ina-applyan ito, messenger lang eh. Pangulong Pilipinas eh. Dapat nga sinasabi na nga Christian Monsod noon na dapat bago dumating ang eleksyon, magkaroon muna ng desisyon. Tuloy natin.
Well, again, the issue here, Carmina, as we have stated from the very start, is that there is a fatal defect, in our opinion, in the certificate of candidacy. And the
fatal defect sa certificate of candidacy. Di ba yung sinasabi na nga, have you ever been convicted of any crime? No, ang sagot niya eh.
Legal effect, according to the Supreme Court itself, in decisions that it has rendered, is that if there is a misrepresentation in a certificate of candidacy, there is no valid candidacy. And that is the legal position that we are taking here. So, it is not a question of not respecting the votes cast, but it is a question, more importantly, of was there a candidacy that under the law can be recognized, and that is the question that we are submitting to the court.
Because what will you do with that acceptance or respect if it's not based on the rule of law?
Yes, precisely, because the law does define what a valid certificate of candidacy is. And so that is simply what we are asking the court to consider, that this is a certificate of candidacy which, according to the court, if there are misrepresentations, may be considered void ab initio. And we are submitting that question. And it is submitted for the first time, Carmina, because while there have been decisions of the Supreme Court on cancellations of certificates of candidacy, there haven't been any decisions on cancellations of certificates of candidacy for president. So this would be the first time. And so, part of the job of a lawyer and advocate is to also consider if this is a case that would enrich jurisprudence, to make sure that the court is able to interpret the law or the rules in a particular way.
Attorney Te, if the COMELEC on Bank's decision is upheld by the Supreme Court, what kind of precedent do you think that will set?
Well, it would be unfortunate, and as far as the precedent that would be set, it might signal that the information in the certificate of candidacy that is being required need not be considered seriously, which would be, I think, unfortunate. I think what we are asking the Supreme Court to do is to treat the certificate of candidacy that's filed by all candidates seriously. That to tell candidates that they cannot just disregard what is being asked for in the certificate of candidacy, because again, if candidates can just simply disregard what is required in terms of information, then
yung certificate of candidacy kailangan kasi totoo lahat ang laman yan eh. Kasi nga nag-a-apply ka ng public servant, kay senador, kay mayor ka, dapat wala hong kalokohan nakalagay dyan. Sasagutin nyo yan ng tama eh. Kagaya to, have you ever been convicted? Sagot niya, no. Convicted siya. Yun ang ito eh. Yun ko pa rin eh. Simple-simple naman hindi naman kailangan ng abogado rito. Parang nag-a-apply ka lang ng nag-a-apply ka. Lalagay mo, graduate ka, hindi naman pala. Nalaman nung pinag-a-applyan mo, tatanggalin ka. Oh, nakalagay doon, oh, hahanapan ka ng police clearance, MBA clearance. Pag nag-a-apply ka, simpleng trabaho lang, messenger lang, ang dami yung hinahanap. Tapos, Pangulo ng Pilipinas, convicted. Ano ba? Eh, kung meron ng conviction si Bongbong, baka hindi ho makakuha ng MBA clearance to.
Why bother with asking these questions in the certificate?
Why even have that COC?
Yes, precisely. It would just simply be a piece of paper. But there has to be some importance attached to the certificate of candidacy. And the information, as ruled already by the COMELEC, both the second division and the NBank, the information required is material. That's not in question. And the only question now being submitted is whether or not the statements are false.
If the petition, though, is granted, and it's as if Marcos Jr. never really ran for the presidency, you're saying the second placer should assume office, but why not the vice president-elect?
I think that is a question, that is a consequence of the law taking effect. Because again, if there is no valid candidacy, because the court will rule, for example, that the certificate should be cancelled and should not be considered as a valid candidacy in the first place, then as far as the electoral contest for presidency is concerned, there was no such candidate. But there were other candidates who ran and garnered votes. And therefore, the focus should simply be on those who ran for president.
So basically, you're saying, Attorney Ted, that we should be able to discern what succession is and what the electoral contest is. We're just talking about the electoral contest here, and succession is not even part of the equation.
Well, that is the distinction between, I think, the effect of a cancellation and a disqualification. Because when you talk about a disqualification, there would have been in law a valid candidacy, except that there was a disqualified candidate. And so as far as the electoral contest for that particular person is concerned, there was a valid run, except that the person who won is not considered qualified. In that situation, the successor principle takes place. But in the case of a cancellation, if the court orders that the certificate is cancelled, and therefore there was no valid candidacy to consider, then as far as the votes are concerned, they are considered stray votes. And therefore, the only votes to be considered would be the votes cast for president for valid candidates. And that's why the successor principle cannot apply in that situation.
We heard from Attorney Vic Rodriguez, spokesperson of former Senator Bongbong Marcos, saying, as I said earlier, respect the will of the people. The COMELEC and Bank have...
Si Vic Rodriguez naman, wala naman sinasabi kundi respect the will of the people. Kung hindi nila pinagtagal, kung ano sana, walang kaso. Si Vic Rodriguez naman. Convicted to Pinatakbo dapat sana, bago na, bumaba muna yung desisyon kung payag yung, may batas po may batas Kaya po.
Has already decided on this matter. And you also heard some people saying, why can't you just accept the 31 million vote mandate? And any question to it would just really sow discord and really give way to consequences that maybe the country isn't ready for. What do you say to that? Nanggugulo lang ho ba kayo, Attorney Te?
Carmina, the rule of law is also predicated on protection of guaranteed rights and freedoms. And part of the rule of law is that if a remedy is provided, then the remedy should be meaningful. This is a remedy that is provided by the law, by the rules. The remedy to ask for review by the court, by a higher court, in this case the Supreme Court, if a litigant disagrees with the ruling of a lower court or an administrative body. So, as to the question of nanggugulo lang po ba kami, again, the law itself, the rules, provide that there is a remedy and that there should be a remedy to protect the rights of people against, for example, an invalid candidacy. Now, as to whether the will of the people should be respected, again, we are submitting that question precisely to the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court decide, was there a valid candidacy? Should the votes that were cast for this particular candidate be considered because there was a valid candidacy? If the court will rule, then that's it, right? And so, I think it would be a disservice to tell people, do not exhaust your legal remedies. Just simply accept it, and just for the sake of harmony or unity. With due respect, that's what we're supposed to be built on. A rule of law that provides for rights that are protected, freedoms that are guaranteed, and the remedies to make them meaningful. And this is precisely one of the remedies.
Earlier on, we were talking about the subject of the vice president elect. We know that the term of Vice President Leni Robredo ends on June 30th. And yet we're hearing that the inauguration of Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte will happen on June 19th. I just want to, explore your thoughts on this. How much of a complication will this be, and what will be the remedy, Attorney Ted?
I don't think it will be. It's complicated. The Constitution is clear. The term of office starts for both president and vice president on June 30. So if there is an inauguration, if there is an oath taking, then it should be considered, I think, in my opinion, largely symbolic. The Constitution is pretty clear. I don't think there is any need to interpret it. The presidency and the vice presidency will transition on June 30. So I think that's my opinion.
All right, and back to the topic at hand here, the petition seeking to cancel the COC of former Senator Bongbong Marcos in his run for the presidency. Had you not brought this up to the Supreme Court, if you had stayed silent, Attorney Te, what do you think would have happened? Attorney Te? Yeah, Attorney Te, did you hear my last question?
Sorry, Carmina. My internet connection dropped out for a while. I didn't get the question. Sorry.
No worries. I'm just going to repeat it. If you had stayed silent and just let the Comelec on Bank's decision, remain and didn't bring this matter up before the Supreme Court, what do you think would have happened then?
Well, if we didn't bring this up, then I think we would be effectively complicit to a possible violation, and I don't think we want to do that, right? And that's why we're submitting the question to the court. Let the court decide, and that again, that is our system. That is what we are after. We should be based on a rule of law, and the rule of law says the courts interpret the laws. The courts decide on questions like these, and so let's let the court decide. That is their job.
All right, I'm going to veer away from your petition just for a bit, Attorney Te. We all know what has been said about this impending Marcos presidency, but what do you think? How do you think this will affect the fight for the rule of law, the fight for information, the fight for setting things straight and against historical revisionism, all those things and issues being put forth? How do you think an impending Marcos presidency will affect all these?
Well, again, we have really not heard from him in terms of what he plans to do. But we can, rely on, for example, track record, and in terms of track record, well, personally, I'm not very optimistic. So I guess it is let him prove us wrong, right? But until, for example, it becomes clear what his human rights agenda is, what his agenda is for protection of rights, for protection of freedoms, for guarantee of the rule of law, then we can only base it on what has happened historically, and his history tells us that that was a very dark time, and
Yung martial law sinasabi niya ni Duterte.
he was already part of it. So I guess it is a burden on him should he become president, to articulate, what his vision is for the rule of law, what his vision is for protection of human rights, for protection of freedoms, among others.
And it's not enough that you hear it from the spokesperson, Attorney Ted?
I'm sorry, he's not the one that ran for the position. He's not the one with the mandate. And so I think it is simply right that we should hear from whoever has been given the mandate.
And we're going to have to leave it at that. Attorney Theodore Ted there, former spokesperson of this.
Ngayon po yung pag-uusap nila. Maliwanag ko, di ba mga boss? Oh, sabi ni Atty. Duterte, wala pa nga kami naririnig yan eh. Oh, kung ano-ano niyan eh. Oh, sa track record lang kami nagbabase eh, pero sa track record, di bumalabs eh. Oh, di ba? Oh. Mga boss, no? Meron pa ho, pero kailanman, no? Ewan ko. Marami na sigurong nangyaring ganyan. Yun hong mali, nagiging tama. No? Pero ito, pinakamahirap, mga boss, na maging tama ang mali. Kasi nga, ang mga nagpipetisyon no, mga justices din. Sila ho ang magbabangga eh. Oo. No? Pabayaan mo na yung COMELEC, tapos na dun. Kaya ito, no? Maski anong rally gawin nyo dyan, sa harap ng COMELEC na yan, wala na kayong mapapala dyan. Masasaktan lang kayo. Mga kakamping. Doon ho ang punta. Magdasal po tayo. Nakakita ko, may misang ginaganap sa harap ng COMELEC. Huwag na ho yan. Doon na po tayo magmisa sa harap ng Korte Suprema. Doon ho tayo maganda naman ho mga ang ilagay natin na puro parang humihiling ho tayo ng sa kanila, sa mga justices o sa Korte Suprema. Lalabing 5 lang ho yan ng pananampalataya sa Panginoon. Ganon. Na kung maaari po, magdesisyon sila ng tama. No. Nagdesisyon na ho naman sila ng tama nung nag-file nga ho itong si Bongbong nato na siya ay nadaya. No. At ang desisyon ho ng Korte Suprema, walang daya ang nangyari. Unanimous ho ang desisyon ng 15 maestrado. Hindi ho po malayong maulit po ho yan ngayon. No. Kasi, kaya sinasabi ni Atty. Duterte, meron ho tayong batas Kaya nga, yung certificate of candidacy na yan, lahat ho ng katanungan dyan, sasagutin mo ng totoo. Dahil ikaw nag-a-apply lalong-lalo na sa pinakamataas na posisyon dito sa pag-aari ng mamamayang Pilipino, ang Republika ng Pilipinas. Tungkol ho sinasabing 31 million, yun hong mga tanong ng mga iba dyan na nanggugulo lang ho itong sila spokesperson Atty. Duterte. Hindi ho sila nanggugulo. Ang nakagulo ho talaga yung Korte Suprema. Dahil hindi ho sila agad nagdesisyon, binitin-bitin nila, hinintay. After the election, saka sila naglabas ng desisyon na binabasura nila. Paano ngayon aapila? Nakapag-eleksyon na. Paano ngayon iaapila mo sa Korte Suprema? Tapos na, may eleksyon na. Ngayon, ipinipilit nila na respetuhin daw ang will of the people. Ay ako. Tungkol dyan sa sinasabing respetuhin ng will of the people. O bakit si BBM? Hanggang ngayon, salita pa sila na salita na dinaya sila. Nag-rule na nga ang Korte Suprema na walang dayaang nangyari. Na hindi sila dinaya dahil wala namang kapasidad nga sila BP Leni Robredo para mandaya. Nagkalat ho sila, nagkalat ng na puro sila dinaya. At hanggang sa mga huling sandali nito, pag nag-isbit si Bongbong, magbantay ka tayo mabuti, baka tayo baka ika maulit, madaya naman tayo. Wag ho tayo matutulog. Wala akong kaprod wala nga akong nakitang watcher dito ng kakamping Totoo lang, wala akong kalaban-laban. Nakakita niyo sa Cotabato, di ba? Yung mga watcher nila, sila nagsishake, ang dami ng balota. Oh. Buti may nakapasok, nakita, binidyo. Pinupunit pa yung mga ibang balota. Oh. Vote buying, rampant, kitang-kita, naka-uniforme pa ng BBM na namimili. Oh, wala rin. Oh. Diba? Tapos, BP Lenny pinalalabas yung mandaraya. Oh. Sa inyo, maliwanag, mga hinakot yung mga tao para dumami. Nagpapasalamat nga si Sara na, salamat sa mga LG yung nag-ano nito, nag-assemble nito. Oh. Hindi naman sila doon sa taong dumalo halos nagpapasalamat eh. Doon sa nag-assemble nung, hindi kagaya kay BP Lenny na sila ang nag-assemble sa sarili nila. Mga boss. Yun ho. Baka po doon, mga kakamping, mga estudyante, mga ano, tigil nyo na ho yung rally-rally na yan, masasaktan lang kayo. Ito na ho ang last ano natin, mga kakamping. Doon po sa Korte Suprema, doon ho tayo magpamisa. Oo, yung mga universities, doon ho. Lalo yung mga ano, mga kumukuha ho ng abogasya na hindi pa ho nakakapag-graduate. Pero gaya ng sinabi ni Commissioner Rowena Gonzon, ito hong tumagal na petisyon na ito. Sabi nga ni Commissioner Rowena Gonzon, ba't hindi kayo magdesisyon? Nagwawala si Commissioner, di ba? Ang simple-simple niyan, even a first year college student ng Ateneo na law student, kayang desisyonan yan, maliwanag naman. Convicted siya. At dito tayo, no? Gaya sinabi ni Carpio, Justice Carpio, kagaya si Robin Padilla, kaya siya nakatakbo, binigyan siya ng absolute pardon ni Digong. Pero ex-convict pa rin siya. Oh, kaya lang siya nakatakbo dahil nga binigyan siya ng absolute pardon. Oh, sinasabi ni Justice Carpio na ito si BBM convicted. Oh, inaccept niya na sa Court of Appeal. Oh, tinanggal yung ano, yung may imprisonment pa nga dapat, di ba? Oh, pero como siya nga raw bongbong, hindi alam kung bakit tinanggal yung, walang explanation yung Court of Appeal kung bakit hindi sinama yung pagkakakulong. Pero anyway, convicted pa rin siya. Oo, non-filing of income tax return 82, 83, 85, paulit-ulit. Tatay niya ang presidente at that time. Martial law pa ho yan. Kaya nga sabi ni Commissioner Rowena Gonzon, he thinks he is above the law. Ito, batas na naman pinag-uusapan. Oh. Kaya nga, diba? Sabi ni Antonio Carpio, paano siyang convicted siya? Para siya makatakbo, kailangan magkaroon siya ng presidential pardon. Only the president can give pardon. Walang pardon na naibigay kay Bongbong, wala. Sabi nga ni Commissioner Gonzon, pati nga yung hindi pa siya nagbayad. Ang list rental yung pinakikita nila, hindi naman yung bayad sa korte. Oh. Kaya yun ho, ang gawin natin. Yun yung mga nandyan sa Maynila, o malapit dyan. Yun ho, doon kayo, mag-vigil kayo doon. Total, napaghirapan na ho natin to eh. Napaghirapan nyo na to. Na rally, ganyan-ganyan. Huwag niya intindihin yung Comelec. Wala na ho kayo mapapala dyan. Wala na ho. Oo. Sa Comelec ho, yun. Yun ho, mali, naging tama. Diba? Ba't masasabi yan? Taga Comelec din na nagsasabi na dapat yan, DQ yan. Ay, hindi basta-basta na taga Comelec. Commissioner Rowena Gonzon. Hindi naman siguro. Gaya si Justice Carpio. Retired yan, retired eh. Ibig sabihin, hindi yan na-impeach. Ibig sabihin, matinong justice yan. Yan ang mga babanggain ng kagalang-galang ng mga huwis ng Korte Suprema dito sa cancellation ng COC niyang si BBM. Oh. Kung tutusin nga, sabi ko sa inyo, di ba? Kung nag-a-apply lang siya ng messenger at pag nalaman siya isang may kaso, hindi ka maski na wag na sabing kung moral turpitude or whatsoever, maski may kaso ka lang, may kaso ka, hindi ka tatanggapin kasi nakalagay doon may kaso doon sa yung pinipil upan na application form. May tinatanong nga, kunyari kung may tanong nga doon kung ikaw hanapan ka ng police clearance, MB clearance, barangay clearance, maraming clearance hinahanap sa'yo. Educational attainment mo pa, messenger lang ina-applyan mo, ha. Eto, Pangulong Pilipinas. Ganun ba yun? Convicted pa, tinanggap pa. At 31 million votes. 31 million votes. Tsaka yan, paulit-ulit. Ang ipinail, hindi ho yan pwedeng sabihin, let us respect the will of the people. Kasi ho yan, nung pang October, nung nakaraan, pinail na ito para nga ho, sana, kaso nga dinribble nila, pinatagal nila. Hindi ako sasabi. Commissioner Rowena Guanzon ang nagsasabi. Napanis doon sa Korte Suprema. Saka lang tapos na eleksyon. Tapos ngayon, let us respect the will of the people, sasabihin ninyo. Parang niloko nyo yung tao, Pinayagan yung tumakbo yung convicted, Ngayon, inakyat sa Korte Suprema, ang sasagutin nyo, let us respect the will of the people, of the 31 million na bumoto. Mahirap ang yan. Hindi ho tamang sagot yan, let us respect the will of the people. Niloko ho ang tao, Dapat nga talaga yan, bago sabi nga ni Christian Monsod, tsaka ni Commissioner, nag-decide, mayroong decision muna kung pwede o hindi yan, kasi nga convicted. Sabi yan, paulit-ulit. Yun na nga lang ho, mga kakamping, kung pwede ho, araw-arawin nyo ang pagmimisa sa harapan ng, di naman ho tayo naggulo, di ba? Nagkukondak lang ho ng misa ron. Kung pwede, bibindisyonan pa ng holy water yung Korte Suprema, pagkatapos ng misa. Siguro naman yung mga justices dyan, yan. Noon ko pa ako sinasabi, hawak nila sa kanilang mga kamay ang kapalaran ng Pilipinas, ng Republikang Pilipinas. Shout out po, Martin Montilla from Canada. Sabi niya, watching from Alberta. Salamat po sa mga inspirasyon at mga makabuluhang topic sa araw-araw. Di talaga ako kumbinsido sa pagkapanalo ng mga kawatan na yan. Pang-pray po natin ang tama. Alam niyo, bumunta na iba ba sa Australia ba yun? Si BBM, sinalubong siya ng protesta. Nagrarally mga Pilipino, kakaya. Mantala si BP Lenny, halos yakapin ho siya doon sa New York. Pumunta siya doon sa graduation ni Jillian. Iba ho yung salubong doon sa natalo kaysa sa nanalo. Ano ba yun? Kakayaw yun. Totoo yun. Dapat pinapalakpakan yung nanalo, di ba? Magbayad ka ng tax, may mga plakad, nagrarally yung lugar na pinta niya. Australia ba yun? Shout out, Dolor Garcia. Ronena Rosales, gandang hapon, sir. Okay, patuloy po tayong magdasal. Divine intervention will happen. Truth shall prevail. Kasi may Diyos na mamagitan sa lahat. Laban ng mga kamping. Lenny, Kiko, tropang angat, sabi niya. Joe Chalan, shout out. Sir Rox, panalangin ang sandata natin sa lahat ng nangyayari sa ating bansa. Gabayan nawa tayo ng Panginoong Diyos. Oo, talaga, Jochalan. Ganun talaga yun. Adorasyon Di Maranan, shout out. Jeff Ramos, nak. Eman Escalona. Ryan Yumura. Sabi ni Carmelita Estor, walang imposible sa ating Panginoon. Patuloy po tayong mag-pray na ang katotohanan po ang mangibabaw. Hipuin ang puso at kaisipan ng Supreme Court na pumanig sila sa tama. Buwagin na nila ang kasan. Hindi ko matindi nito. Buwagin na nila ang kasan. Huwag na silang sumunod sa leader nila na sumusunod sa kasamaan. Kasamaan. Buwagin nila kasamaan. Konsensyahin sila kasama ang mga anak, asawa at pamilya nila na magkaisa sila sa tama. Kapit lang mga kamping at magtiwala tayo na si Lord ang bahala sa Supreme Court. In Jesus' name, Amen. Yan, dapat ganyan ang mga sa punta sa Supreme Court. Mo na yung Comelec, wala na yan eh. Talagang yan nakaprograma yan para maging kaya na sinabi ni Commissioner Watson, this is battle between good and evil. Napili nung mga kasamahan niya sa Comelec, evil eh. Ang magagawa natin. Buti si Commissioner Ganson, sagot siya dumagay. At ginawa naman niya lahat. Kaya lang, walang pera si BP Lenny na isinabay. Doon tayo natalo eh. Sa pera. At kapangyarihan. Hawak ko nila yung kapulisan. Tignan doon sa Cotabato, nagbabantay na ng presinto, natakot na yung pulis na. Buti lang, may dumating na, ewan ko kung sino yun. Sinita-sita sila dahil 5 tao, dami sinesid eh. Yung pulis naman, taga-punit. Fred Laguerta, shout out. We pray to the Supreme Court na sana wala silang panigan at strong decision ang gagawin nila at tama sa panukalang batas. Yan. Sabi ni Jeff Ramos, magandang gabi po tayo. More power po sa inyong channel. Magandang buhay po sa lahat. Salamat na. Sabi ni Lourdes Punta Nares, habang buhay may pag-asa. Hindi lahat dilim. Tuloy lang natin ang laban. Salamat, Mr. Roque. Mr. Sa totoo lang, dasal ang kailangan. Mabuhay Pilipinas nating mahal. Love, love, love lang tayo. God bless us all, sabi ni Lourdes Punta Nares. Alredo Tungol, boss, kung ano ang itinakda ng sa itaas ay siyang mangyayari. Kahit anumang harang ng tao ay mababaliwala. Kaya magtiwala tayo sa itaas kung ano ang kanyang kapasyahan. Amen. Talaga lang. Tingnan nyo nga yung diba, 10 Commandments. Lahat ng karangyaan na kay Moses na. Malapit na siyang maging hari. Papalit siya sa Pero. Pero nung nalaman niya na siya pala ay anak ng Hebrew slave, ay tinablan niya si Pero. Tinablan niya. At sumama siya. At yun nga, nakausap niya ang ating Diyos Ama na nagsabi sa kanya na inuutusan kita para mamuno sa pagpapalaya ng aking mga tao para mapalaya sila sa kahirapan. Ang sabi ni Moises, sino ako? Anong gagawin ko? Napakalakas ni Pero. Basta pumunta ka, I will be with thee. May nagawa ba? Pero, ganun. Sana yung mga commissioner natin, si Moises isa lang, ito 15 po yung commissioner natin. Mga nag-aral po lahat yan. May konsensya po mga yan. Nangyari na po yan diba? Nagdesisyon sila ng tama na walang dayaang nangyari sa vice presidency. Pero itong mga to na nagsipanalo daw, walang ginawa kung hindi salahulain si BP Leni Robredo, maski na trabaho yung si BP, puro fake news pa kinakalat, mga kung ano-ano pa na ng MPA, kung ano-ano. Diyos ko. Diyos na lang ho, bahala sa kanila, di ba mga boss? Joe Pahardo, shout out. Mabuhay, maraming salamat po, Karoke. Magtiyaga po kayo. Kasama po ninyo kaming sambayan ng Pilipino. Ito na po ang sagot sa mga dalangin natin. Divine intervention. Father, God is our supreme judge. God is watching us. In God we trust. Amen. Oo. Dolor Garcia, sabi niya, kumusta? Kuya, kumusta na po dyan sa buong pamilya nyo? God bless you all. Sana ganyan ang mangyari, sabi niya. Oo. Sabi ni Arnel Arajo, let it be done, my Lord, sabi niya. Oo, mukhang napanood nito yung Ten Commandments, ha. Sabi ni Joe Chalan, we trust our holy name of God to intervene the situation happen to our nation. Dapat po dito, mga pari po, kung nakapagdasal kayo sa harap ng Comelec, makakapag-misa po tayo sa harap ng Korte Suprema. Oo. Kung pwedeng araw-araw, habang hindi sila nakakapag-desisyon, gawin natin. Oo. Kesa binubulabog niya Comelec na palpak kayo, kung ano ginagawa niyo. Wala na ho sa kanila yan, nagawa na nila yan, hindi na nila pwedeng bawiin. Hindi na nila pwedeng gawin yung kalampasya dahil para sa kanila nga yun. Para sa Comelec, bobo. Yung nagsasabing hindi pwedeng makatakbo, si Bongbong. Para sa kanila, bobo kayo. Commissioner Guanzon, Justice Antonio Carpio, lahat. Kim Inares, lahat yan. Puro kayo bobo. Pwedeng makatakbo. Tingnan natin kung parehas ang magiging desisyon ng kagalang-galang na Korte Suprema. Kung yun din ang magiging desisyon at papanigan nila itong Comelec. Dapat mo kuminga. Grace Ismael. Good PM po, Sir Roque. Wow, God is good all the time. I trust God. I believe in my faith na mananalo tayo. Kapit sa pananampalataya. Oo, yan. Ganyan, ha. Eileen Polido. We are fervently praying po. May God bless the Supreme Court to side on what is right and just. God bless us all. God bless our country. Thank you for your post. We learned a lot from this. Salamat. Si Grace na naman. Grace Ismael. Dapat po talaga, sir, makakasuhan ng Comelec. So, ayan, lumabas na ang katotohanan. God bless Supreme Court Justices. Ayun. Sarap. Mr. Yern ID. The truth will set us free. God bless po sa lahat, sabi niya. Cesar Basco, Karoke bilang Pilipino at masunuring mamayan, I will support the President legally and will pay my taxes as long as my President pay his. Talaga ikaw, Cesar, eh. Paano nga kung di magbabayad yung President? Di tayo magbabayad, gano'n. Ay, nako. Maria Victoria Losaria, a lie doesn't become truth. Wrong doesn't become right. Evil doesn't become good just because it's accepted by majority. Tatalino ho nang nagko-comment dito. Oo, kaya ho kayo mga troll. Wag na ho kayo nanonood dito. Kung magko-comment lang kayo na puro katangahan, wag na po. Dahil mahiya ho kayo dito ho sa mga nagko-comments, kumita naman na kayo, di bakit ang gugulo pa kayo? Nanalo na nga yung manok nyo, di ba? Ganun lang po yun. Huwag na kayong pumasok dito. Mahiya kayo, yun lang yun, no? Kasi may nakakapasok pa rin isa dalawa eh. Oo. Huwag na. Hindi ko na rin naman iniintindi. Oo. Sabi ni Wilma Lareta, mag-pray po tayo na ang mga nasa Supreme Court ay manaig sa puso at isipan nila ang kapakanan ng inang bayan. Masyado nang nabastos ang demokrasya ng bansang Pilipinas. Tama, niwala ako sa dyan. Buena Noblejas, let us hope for the best. Wala pong imposible sa Diyos. The truth will prevail. God bless po. Totoo yan, Buena. Si Arnel Arao na naman. Let it be done, my Lord, sabi niya. Roberto Maspara, the truth will prevail. In God we trust. mangyari, sabi ni Daniel Manalili, mangyari sana gawin ang mga abogado natin. Marami ang magagawa nila in the name of God na wag maproklama si Marcos Jr. O talaga lang. Kasi hindi nang basta-basta ho yan. Sila Atty. Tudor T, spokesperson ho yan ng Supreme Court. Mga taga-Supreme Court din ho yun. Court. Kim Inares, Commissioner Rowena Guanzon. Yan ho ang pinalabas ng COMELEC ng mga bobo, mga taong yan. Oh. Ito si Paralino eh. Di ba sabi ni Commissioner Rowena Guanzon, kabago-bago mo eh. Hindi mo kaya, di pagawa mo sa iba. Yung maggawa ka desisyon. Oh. Gayo Sopam. Si Gayo Sopam. Ang batas ng mga tao ay gawa ng mas nakararaming matatalinong at makadiyos na mga tao. Wala silang pinapanigan sino man kung wala silang sapat na basihan laban sa kaninuman. Kaya ang pag-asa ng mga mamamayan ng inang bayan ay nasa kataas-taasang hukuman na walang iba ay ang Korte Suprema ng Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang Korte Suprema. Mabuhay ang Korte Suprema. Si Positivity. Shout out, Positivity. God moves in a mysterious way. Totoo yan. Si Birhen Maria nga, di ba? Akalain niya bang mabubuntis siya? Wala nga siyang boyfriend. Oh, lumabas ang anghel. Magdadalang tao ka, papangalanan mong Jesus. Katanggi ba? Mga Katoliko rin naman po siguro kayo, mga justices. At kayo po ay hanggang sa siguro, magmula ho pagkabata ninyo, naniniwala po kayong may Diyos. Oo. No? Ami Puno, I always find time to watch your program, sabi niya. Today, I was able to watch a video on YouTube relating to Cambridge Analytica. I suggest you watch it too, and you might find it interesting. Oh. Pultam Nueva. Magdasal lang po tayo ng mataimtim at sa Panginoon. Diyos nasa maliwanagan ang Supreme Court, kaya dasal lang po tayo. Ang Panginoon ang hindi natutulog. God bless po kay BP Lenny at Kiko, sabi niya. Ed Pandernal. Salute to Attorney Maranyon. I admire Carmina how the good attorney qualified to reverse the 31 million votes. Liberty Haruda. Mga kamping, patuloy lang nating suportahan ang Angat Buhay Foundation ni BP Lenny, sabi niya. Arnold Fernan, madaya talaga sila, sabi niya. Rod Quinto, laban lang tayo sa Rocks, mabuhay kakamping, sabi niya. Marites Francisco, shout out. Good day po sa inyo, karaoke, sa lahat ng kamping, sabi niya. Myla Swa Garcia, magandang hapon, karaoke, magandang balita po yan. Kailangan po ng dasal natin. Wag po tayong mawawala ng pag-asa, sabi niya. Ay, nako. Hindi na ako magbabasa. Shout out ko na to. Sherwin Sapeda. Shout out Sherwin Sapeda. There goes a saying po, no one is above the law. If you commit crimes, you have to face the consequences. Tama. Gagaling nito. Sarap magbasa. Esther Rodriguez. Shout out. Aloha po, mabuhay ang bansa. Ibahagi ko lang po ang ilang quotes ni Leo Tolstoy. The Russian writer dedicated sa mga tiwali. Wrong does not cease to be wrong because majority share it in strong. People are always simply. Angkop ito sa huling quote kay BP Lenny, sabi niya. Sherwin Sapeda ulit, sabi niya. Hello po, Sir Roque. Naniniwala po ako talaga na merong himala. And God really moves in a very mysterious ways. Especially po, meron pong tao na sobra pong naapi at napagtutulungan. Si Lord po talaga ang pag-asa natin. Oo. Hanggang dito lang po mga boss. No? Yun po. Sana maging tama ang mali. Dasal po tayo kay Lord. Gaya nga sabi nitong mga nagko-comment dito. God moves in a very mysterious way. At yun nga, pag gumalaw po siya, gaya na sinasabi, hindi ko kayang harangin yan. Hindi ko kayang harangin yan. Gaya ko sa Ten Commandments, di ba? Nag-iisa lang si Moses. Napalaya niya lahat ang mga Hebrew slave. Diba? Oh. Pero sabi niya kay Lord, who am I? Paano ko magagawa? Go, I will be with thee. Tuturo ko sa iyo kung anong gagawin mo. Ganun po yun. Ganun po kahiwaga ang Panginoon. Naniniwala. Loko-loko lang naman yung na hindi naniniwala dyan sa totoo lang. Oo. At mas lalong loko-loko yung mga gumagamit dyan sa Panginoon upang sila ay magkamal ng salapi. Alam nyo na kung sino kayo. God bless po, mga boss. Dasal po, dasal.